She held it in her trembling hands. A simple brown leather wallet. Inside was $400 in cash, 3 credit cards, and a photograph that would change everything. The man who owned it had everything. Power, wealth, influence. And she had nothing. Not even enough money to buy groceries for the week. But what she did next, in that single moment when no one was watching, would set into motion a chain of events that neither of them could have ever imagined. This is not a fairy tale. This is what happened when one woman chose to do the right thing, even when the wrong thing would have been so much easier. Her name was Angela Brooks, and before that morning in October, her biggest concern was whether she could afford to fix the leak in her apartment ceiling before winter arrived. She was 38 years old, working as a part-time cashier at a grocery store and cleaning offices at night just to make ends meet. Her mother lived 3 hours away in a nursing home that Angela could barely afford to visit once a month. The bills piled up faster than her paychecks could cover them. She wasn't looking for a miracle. She had stopped believing in those years ago. She was just trying to survive, one day at a time, in a city that had forgotten how to be kind to people like her. On the morning of October 12th, Angela was walking to catch the bus to her morning shift when she noticed something lying near a storm drain on Madison Avenue. At first, she thought it was just trash. A piece of cardboard, maybe, or an old newspaper. But as she got closer, she saw the glint of something brown and leather against the wet pavement. She bent down and picked it up. It was a wallet. Expensive. The kind of leather that felt soft even after being exposed to the rain. She looked around. The street was empty. No one was rushing back looking for it. No one was there to see her. And when she opened it to check for identification, her breath caught in her throat. $400. More money than she had seen in one place in over 2 years. But it wasn't the money that made her heart race. It was the name on the driver's license. Damian Cole. She recognized that name. Everyone in New York did. Damian Cole was the CEO of Cole Industries, one of the largest real estate and investment companies on the East Coast. His face had been on magazine covers, news websites, business sections. They called him the Ice King, the man with no heart, the billionaire who crushed small businesses to expand his empire, the one who fired 200 employees right before Christmas last year because, as he coldly stated in an interview, the numbers didn't justify keeping them. Angela stood there on that cold October morning, holding the wallet of one of the most hated men in America. She thought about her mother, about the medical bills, about the eviction notice she had received 2 weeks ago that she had been too ashamed to tell anyone about. $400 wouldn't solve everything, but it would buy her time. It would keep the lights on for another month. No one would know. The credit cards would be canceled anyway. He probably wouldn't even miss the cash. Men like Damian Cole lost more money in the cushions of their limousines than Angela made in half a year. And yet, something stopped her from slipping the wallet into her bag. It wasn't fear of getting caught. It was something deeper. A voice in her head that sounded like her father's. He had died when she was 16, but she could still hear him clearly. He always said the same thing. Your character is what you do when nobody's watching. Angela. That's what makes you who you are. She looked at the license again. The address was listed. A place called the Cole Estate in the wealthy district uptown. It would take her an hour on the bus to get there. She would be late for work. Her manager would probably write her up again. She might even lose her job. But Angela folded the wallet carefully, tucked it into her coat pocket, and started walking toward the bus stop. She didn't know why she was doing this. She just knew she had to. Because if she took that money, she wouldn't be able to look at herself in the mirror anymore. And that was something no amount of money could fix. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The bus ride felt longer than usual. Angela kept touching her pocket, making sure the wallet was still there. She wondered what kind of person Damian Cole really was. Was he truly as cold as the media made him out to be? Or was that just how powerful men were portrayed when they made difficult business decisions? She thought about the employees he had fired, wondered if any of them had been in her position, struggling, desperate, trying to survive in a world that seemed designed to keep them down. Part of her wanted to hate him, but another part of her, the part that had been raised to see people as more than their worst moments, wondered if there was more to his story. The wallet felt heavy in her pocket, not because of what was inside it, but because of what it represented. A choice, a crossroads, the kind of moment that defines who you really are when everything is stripped away. When Angela finally arrived at the Cole estate, she almost turned back. The gates were massive, at least 12 feet tall, made of black iron with gold accents that gleamed even in the gray October light. Security cameras pointed in every direction. There was an intercom system built into a stone pillar beside the entrance. This wasn't just a house. This was a fortress. Angela pressed the button on the intercom and waited. Static crackled. Then a male voice, deep and suspicious. "Yes. Can I help you?" Angela cleared her throat. Her voice sounded smaller than she wanted it to. "I'm here to return something. I found a wallet that belongs to Mr. Cole." There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, sharper now. "Stay right there. Don't move." 2 minutes later, 2 security guards appeared from behind the gates. Both were tall, broad-shouldered, wearing dark suits and earpieces. They looked at Angela the way you might look at something you found on the bottom of your shoe. One of them spoke. "You said you found a wallet?" Angela nodded and carefully pulled it from her pocket. The guard snatched it from her hand and examined it. His partner moved closer, invading her space. "Where did you get this?" Angela took a step back. "I found it on Madison Avenue this morning, near the storm drain by the bus stop. I saw the ID and came here to return it." The first guard flipped through the wallet, checking the contents. Then he looked at his partner and muttered something under his breath. The second guard grabbed Angela's arm. Not hard, but firm enough to make her pulse spike. "You're going to need to come with us. We have to verify this." Angela's heart pounded. "Verify what?" "I'm just trying to return it. I didn't take anything. I swear." The guard didn't let go. "That's what they all say. You could have stolen this. Could have copied the credit cards. We need to make sure you're not running some kind of scam." Angela felt tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. She had done the right thing. She had traveled an hour out of her way, risking her job just to return something that didn't belong to her. And now she was being treated like a criminal. She opened her mouth to defend herself when a voice crackled through the guard's earpiece. Both men straightened immediately. The first guard spoke into his wrist. "Yes, sir." "Understood, sir." He released Angela's arm and stepped back. His expression didn't soften, but his tone changed. "Mr. Cole wants to see you." The gates began to open with a low mechanical hum. Angela followed the guards up a long driveway lined with perfectly trimmed hedges and old oak trees. The mansion loomed ahead. It was 3 stories tall, built from gray stone with tall windows that reflected the cloudy sky. It looked more like a museum than a home. Cold, imposing, beautiful in a way that made you feel like you didn't belong. The guards led her through a side entrance, down a hallway with marble floors and oil paintings on the walls. Everything echoed. Her footsteps, her breathing, the quiet terror in her chest. They stopped in front of a set of double doors made of dark wood. One of the guards knocked twice, then opened the door and gestured for Angela to enter. She stepped inside. The office was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined one wall. A fireplace crackled softly on the other. And behind a massive oak desk sat Damian Cole. He looked different from his photographs. Older. Tired. His dark hair was slightly graying at the temples. His jaw was still sharp, his posture still commanding, but there was something else in his eyes. Something the cameras had never captured. Sadness. Deep, unshakable sadness. He stood when she entered. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, dressed in a simple black sweater and jeans. No suit. No tie. He looked almost normal. Almost human. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Please, sit." Angela sat. Her hands were shaking, so she folded them in her lap. Damian studied her for a moment, then picked up the wallet from his desk. The guards must have brought it in ahead of her. "You found this on Madison Avenue." His voice was quiet. Calm. Not at all what she had expected. Angela nodded. "Yes, sir. This morning, by the bus stop near the storm drain. I saw your ID and thought I should bring it back." Damien opened the wallet slowly. He checked the cash, the credit cards. Then he reached into a small pocket inside and pulled out a photograph. His entire expression changed. The sadness in his eyes deepened into something raw, something that made Angela's chest tighten just watching him. He stared at the photograph for a long time. Then he looked up at her. "Did you see this?" Angela hesitated. She didn't want to lie. "Yes, I did. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to snoop. I just wanted to make sure the wallet was yours before I came all the way here." Damien set the photograph down gently on the desk, face down, like he couldn't bear to look at it anymore. Most people would have kept the money. Angela didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing. Damien leaned back in his chair and rubbed his face with both hands. "You have no idea what you just did by coming here. If you're still watching, let us know in the comments. What would you have done if you found that wallet? Would you have returned it? Or would survival have made you keep it? We really want to hear your thoughts." Damien stood and walked over to the window. He stared out at the grounds, his back to Angela. For a long time, he didn't speak. Then, quietly, almost like he was talking to himself, he said, "The boy in that photograph was my son, Noah." Angela's heart clenched. "Was?" Damien's shoulders tensed. "He died 13 months ago." "I'm so sorry," Angela whispered. Damien turned to face her. "The media said it was my fault, that I was negligent, that I was too busy with work to pay attention to my own child. They painted me as the villain, the father who cared more about money than his son's safety. And for a long time, I believed them." Angela didn't know what to say. She just sat there, watching this powerful man crumble in front of her. Damien picked up the photograph again. He looked at it like it was the most precious thing in the world. Noah was 7 when this was taken. We were at the park. He loved the swings. He would beg me to push him higher and higher until I thought he might fly away. He had this laugh, this incredible, fearless laugh, and I would do anything just to hear it one more time. He set the photograph down carefully. "That picture is the last one I have where he's smiling, really smiling, not posing for some event or some family portrait, just being a kid, happy, free. I keep it in my wallet because I need to remember that he was real, that he existed, that I didn't just dream him into being." Angela felt tears streaming down her face. She didn't even realize she was crying until Damien handed her a tissue from his desk. "Why did you disappear?" Angela asked gently. "Why did you stop going out?" Damien sat back down. "Because I couldn't face the world anymore. Every time I stepped outside, people looked at me like I was a monster. Reporters camped outside the gates asking me how I could live with myself. Business partners distanced themselves. Friends stopped calling. And maybe they were right. Maybe I was the monster they said I was. Maybe I did fail him." Angela shook her head. "You loved him. I can see that. That's not the same as failing him." Damien looked at her like she had just said something in a language he didn't understand. "No one has said that to me in over a year." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Damien reached into a drawer and pulled out a thick manila folder. He set it on the desk between them. 3 days after Noah died, I started getting threats. People saying they had information about what really happened. Saying that if I wanted the truth, I would have to pay. I hired investigators, private security. I tried to find out what they knew. But every lead went cold. Every witness disappeared. And the more I searched, the more I realized that someone very powerful wanted me to stop looking. Angela leaned forward. "You don't think it was an accident?" Damien's jaw tightened. "No, I don't. And the wallet you just returned? It has something in it that proves it." Angela's blood went cold. "What do you mean?" Damien opened the wallet again. He felt along the inside lining, then carefully peeled back a hidden layer of leather. Inside was a small folded piece of paper, yellowed with age. He unfolded it and handed it to Angela. It was a child's drawing, crayon on construction paper. A stick figure labeled Daddy, standing next to a smaller stick figure labeled me. But at the bottom, in messy handwriting, were words that made Angela's stomach drop. "Daddy, don't trust Mr. Hale." Angela looked up at Damien. "Who is Mr. Hale?" Damien's expression hardened. "My former business partner. The man who ran this company while I was grieving. The man who convinced me to step back and let him handle everything. The man who stood at Noah's funeral and told me he would take care of me like family. Angela felt a chill run down her spine. And you think he had something to do with Noah's death? Damien took the paper back and stared at it. Noah gave me this 3 weeks before he died. He slipped it into my wallet when I wasn't looking. At the time, I thought it was just a kid being a kid. Maybe he overheard something. Maybe Hale had scolded him for running in the office. I didn't think anything of it. But after Noah died, I forgot this was even in here. And Hale knew I carried that photograph everywhere. He's been trying to get this wallet back from me for months, sending people to ask about it, offering to buy me a new one. And last week, when I lost it, I thought it was over. I thought whatever evidence Noah left me was gone forever. But you brought it back. Angela's mind was racing. So you think Hale orchestrated Noah's death to get control of your company? Damien shook his head. Not just the company. My life. My reputation. Everything. Noah's accident happened at a company retreat. A family event that Hale personally organized. Noah drowned in the pool while I was in a meeting that Hale insisted I couldn't miss. The investigators said it was an accident, that the lifeguard was distracted, that these things happen. But the lifeguard disappeared 2 days later. No forwarding address, no phone number, just gone. And Hale was the one who hired him. Angela felt sick. That's not an accident. That's murder. Damien's voice was barely a whisper. I know. Damien stood and began pacing. For the past year, I've been collecting evidence. Bank statements, emails, recorded conversations. I've been working with an investigator who I trust. But I needed proof that Noah knew something before he died. I needed something concrete that would connect Hale to what happened. And that note, Angela realized. That's the proof. Damien nodded. That note proves Noah sensed danger. It shows intent. It changes everything. But if I had lost this wallet permanently, that proof would have been gone. Angela thought about the wallet sitting on the wet pavement. How easily she could have walked past it. How close Damien had come to losing the one thing that could bring him justice. And now? What happens now? Angela asked. Damien stopped pacing and looked directly at her. Now, I'm going to finish what I started. I'm going to expose Robert Hale for what he really is. I'm going to make sure Noah's death wasn't in vain. And I'm going to make sure that every person who helped cover this up pays for what they did. But he continued, his expression growing serious. There's something you need to understand. By returning this wallet, you've put yourself in danger. Angela's heart skipped. What do you mean? Damien pulled out his phone and swiped through several images. Then he turned the screen toward her. Security footage. Multiple angles. Angela walking toward the coal estate. Angela at the gates. Angela entering the mansion. And in several frames, a black sedan parked across the street. The same sedan in every shot. Someone has been following you, Damien said quietly. Since this morning. From the moment you picked up that wallet. Angela felt her stomach drop. Who? I don't know yet. But I have my suspicions. Hale has people everywhere. Contacts. Informants. If he found out that my wallet was recovered, he would want to know who found it. And if he thinks you saw something, anything, that could hurt him, he won't hesitate to silence you. Angela's hand started shaking again. I didn't see anything except a photograph and some cash. I didn't even know about the note. That doesn't matter, Damien said. What matters is that they think you might know. And that makes you a target. Angela stood abruptly. I need to go. I need to go home. I shouldn't have come here. I should have just mailed the wallet or dropped it at a police station. Or Damien moved quickly, placing himself between Angela and the door. Stop. Take a breath. You're safe here. But if you leave now without protection, they will find you. Angela felt tears burning in her eyes again. I'm not part of this. I just wanted to do the right thing. I didn't ask for any of this. I know, Damien said gently. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that my life has become so dangerous that even an act of kindness puts someone at risk. But I promise you I will protect you. I won't let anything happen to you. Angela looked up at him. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. Damien's expression softened. Because you're the first person in over a year who treated me like a human being. Not a monster. Not a headline. Just a person. And because if something happened to you because of me, I don't think I could live with myself. Angela wiped her eyes. So what do we do? Damien pulled out his phone again and made a call. His voice was calm but commanding. Marcus, I need a full security detail on Angela Brooks. Background check, surveillance sweep, residential protection. I want her apartment secured within the hour. He hung up and turned back to Angela. You're going to stay here tonight. My security team will make sure your apartment is safe. Tomorrow, we'll figure out next steps. But right now, the safest place for you is behind these walls. Angela wanted to argue, wanted to insist that she could take care of herself. But the truth was she was terrified. And Damien's presence, as intimidating as it was, felt like the only solid thing in a world that had suddenly become very unstable. What if they already went to my apartment? Angela asked quietly. What if they're already there? Then my team will find them, Damien said. And trust me, they're very good at their job. Angela nodded slowly. She didn't have much of a choice. Okay, I'll stay. Damien gestured toward the door. I'll have someone show you to a guest room. Get some rest. We'll talk more in the morning. As Angela followed a housekeeper down another long hallway, she couldn't help but think about how drastically her life had changed in a single day. This morning, she was worried about paying rent. Now she was caught in the middle of a conspiracy involving a dead child and $1 billion empire. And all because she had decided to return a wallet. If you're still with us, drop a comment and let us know. Have you ever done something that seemed small but ended up changing your entire life? We'd love to hear your story. Angela barely slept that night. The guest room was beautiful, far nicer than any place she had ever stayed. But every creak of the house made her jump. Every shadow outside the window made her pulse race. She kept thinking about the black sedan, about the faceless people who might be watching her, about the little boy whose drawing had started all of this. When morning came, a knock on the door startled her. It was Damien. He looked like he hadn't slept either. His eyes were red, his jaw tense. We need to talk. Angela followed him back to his office. On the desk was a laptop, several folders, and a pot of coffee that looked like it had been there for hours. Damien poured 2 cups and handed one to Angela. Then he sat down and opened the laptop. My investigator went through the security footage from your building last night. Someone broke into your apartment at 2 a.m. Angela's coffee cup nearly slipped from her hands. What? They didn't take anything. Just searched the place. Went through your drawers, your closet, even checked under your mattress. They were looking for something. Probably the wallet. Or any evidence that you might have taken photos of its contents. Angela set the cup down before she dropped it. This is real. This is actually happening. Damien's expression was grim. Yes, it's real. And it's worse than I thought. He turned the laptop toward her. On the screen was a bank statement. Rows and rows of transactions highlighted in yellow. This is one of Hale's offshore accounts, Damien explained. The one he doesn't think I know about. 3 weeks before Noah died, he transferred $200,000 to an account in the Cayman Islands. The account belongs to a man named Victor Moreno. Angela frowned. Who's Victor Moreno? A fixer. Someone who makes problems disappear. People. Evidence. Witnesses. He's been linked to at least a dozen suspicious deaths over the past 10 years, but nothing has ever been proven. And Hale paid him right before Noah's accident. Angela felt like she was going to be sick. So Hale hired someone to kill your son. Damien's hands curled into fists on the desk. I believe he hired someone to create an accident. Something that would look natural. Something that would destroy me emotionally and leave him in control of the company. And it almost worked. Angela leaned forward, studying the screen. Can you prove this? Can you take this to the police? Damien shook his head. Not yet. These are financial records, but they don't directly tie Moreno to Noah's death. I need more. I need a witness. I need communication. I need something that proves intent. That's where you come in. Angela blinked. Me? What can I do? Damien closed the laptop. Hale doesn't know that I have Noah's note yet. He doesn't know that I've connected the dots. He thinks I'm just a grieving father who's lost his mind. And he thinks you're just a random woman who found a wallet. We can use that. Angela's mind was spinning. How? Damien stood and walked over to the window again. He did that when he was thinking, when he needed to process something difficult. You're going to meet with him. Angela's heart stopped. Absolutely not. Damien turned to face her. Hear me out. We'll set up a meeting. You'll tell him that you found the wallet and wanted to return it directly to him, since you know he works closely with me. You'll act nervous, scared, like you're worried about getting in trouble. And while you're there, you'll wear a wire. You'll record everything he says. Angela stood up. That's insane. He'll know something is wrong. What if he hurts me? What if he... Damien crossed the room and placed his hands gently on her shoulders. I will have a full security team outside. Cameras, microphones. The moment anything goes wrong, they'll be inside in seconds. You won't be alone. I promise. Angela shook her head. I can't. I'm not trained for this. I'm not some undercover agent. I'm just a cashier. You're more than that, Damien said firmly. You're brave. You're honest. And you're the only person Hale won't suspect. If I confront him, he'll shut down. If the police question him, he'll lawyer up. But if a scared woman who found a wallet asks to meet with him, he'll see an opportunity. A chance to find out what you know and silence you if necessary. Angela pulled away from him. That's exactly why I shouldn't do this. Damien softened. I won't force you. If you say no, I'll protect you anyway. I'll make sure you're safe. But without this, it could take years to build a case. Years that Hale will spend free. Years that Noah's death will go unavenged. And there's a good chance Hale will come after you eventually, whether you help me or not. At least this way, you have control. You have backup. You have a chance to end this. Angela closed her eyes. She thought about the little boy in the photograph. The one with the fearless laugh. The one who had tried to warn his father. She thought about her own father. About what he would do if he were here. And she knew. She already knew what her answer would be. Okay, I'll do it. But you have to promise me something. Damien nodded. Anything. If this goes wrong, if something happens to me, you make sure people know the truth. You make sure Noah's story doesn't die with me. Damien's eyes glistened. I promise. The meeting was set for the following afternoon. Hale's assistant had been surprisingly easy to convince. Angela had called, explained that she found Mr. Cole's wallet and wanted to personally return it to his business partner as a courtesy. The assistant scheduled a meeting at Hale's office downtown. 2 p.m. Damien spent the entire morning preparing Angela. How to act. What to say. How to stay calm even if Hale tried to intimidate her. A tech specialist fitted her with a tiny microphone sewn into the button of her coat. You won't even know it's there, the specialist said. Just talk normally. We'll hear everything. As Angela rode in the back of Damien's car toward Hale's office, her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Damien sat beside her, his face unreadable. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked one more time. Angela took a deep breath. I have to. For Noah. Damien reached over and squeezed her hand. Thank you. The office building was sleek and modern, all glass and steel. Angela stepped out of the car and looked up at the towering structure. Somewhere inside was the man who had orchestrated the death of a 7-year-old boy. And she was about to walk into his office and look him in the eye. She straightened her coat, touched the hidden microphone for reassurance, and walked through the revolving doors. Robert Hale's office was on the 32nd floor. Angela's heart pounded with every second the elevator climbed. When the doors opened, a receptionist greeted her with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Miss Brooks? Mr. Hale is expecting you. Angela followed her down a corridor lined with abstract art and motivational posters about leadership and success. The irony wasn't lost on her. The receptionist opened a door and gestured for Angela to enter. Inside, Robert Hale stood behind his desk. He was in his mid-50s with silver hair, sharp blue eyes, and a smile that looked practiced. Warm but calculating. He extended his hand. Ms. Brooks, thank you so much for coming. Please have a seat. Angela shook his hand. It was cold. She sat down, trying to remember everything Damien had coached her to do. Act nervous. Don't make too much eye contact. Seem small. Hale sat across from her and folded his hands. I understand you found Damien's wallet? Angela nodded. Yes, on Madison Avenue. I saw his ID and thought I should return it. Hale's smile widened. That was very kind of you. Most people wouldn't have bothered, especially considering how much cash was inside. Angela's pulse quickened. How did he know about the cash? She hadn't mentioned it on the phone. I just thought it was the right thing to do, she said quietly. Hale leaned back in his chair, studying her. And did you look through the wallet? Before you returned it? Angela hesitated, just enough to find the ID. I didn't want to invade his privacy. Hale's eyes narrowed slightly. Nothing else? No photographs? No papers? Angela felt sweat forming on the back of her neck. There was a photograph. Of his son, I think. Hale's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Ah, yes. Poor Noah. Such a tragedy. Angela forced herself to nod. I can't imagine what Mr. Cole has been through. Hale sighed dramatically. It's been difficult. Damien hasn't been the same since. He's withdrawn. Paranoid. He sees conspiracy everywhere. It's quite sad, really. Angela kept her voice steady. Paranoid? What do you mean? Hale leaned forward, lowering his voice like he was sharing a secret. Between you and me, Damien has convinced himself that Noah's death wasn't an accident. He's been investigating his own employees, accusing people of betrayal. It's become quite concerning. The board is even discussing whether he's fit to continue running the company. Angela felt anger rising in her chest, but forced it down. That must be hard for everyone. Hale nodded. It is. Which is why I need to ask you something, Ms. Brooks. And I need you to be completely honest with me. Angela's stomach tightened. Okay. Did Damien say anything to you when you returned the wallet? Anything about investigations or suspicions? Anything that seemed unusual? Angela shook her head. No. He just thanked me. He seemed sad, but that's all. Hale watched her carefully. And you're certain there was nothing else in the wallet? No notes? No papers? Angela met his gaze. Just the ID, some credit cards, and cash. And the photograph. Hale stood and walked over to the window, his back to her. You know, Ms. Brooks, you did a very admirable thing. Returning that wallet. It shows character. But I have to wonder, what were you hoping to get out of it? Angela frowned. I wasn't hoping to get anything. I just wanted to do the right thing. Hale turned to face her. Really? Because a woman in your financial situation, someone who works 2 jobs and can barely make rent, doesn't usually turn down $400 unless she's hoping for a bigger reward. Angela's blood went cold. How did he know about her jobs? Her rent? Hale must have seen the fear in her eyes because his smile grew wider. I have resources, Ms. Brooks. I know who you are, where you live, where your mother is staying in that nursing home upstate. I know everything. Angela stood abruptly. I should go. Hale moved between her and the door. Sit down. His voice was no longer friendly. It was hard, commanding. Angela sat. Her hands were shaking. Hale leaned against his desk, looking down at her. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me exactly what Damien said to you. You're going to tell me if there was anything unusual in that wallet. And you're going to tell me the truth, or things are going to become very uncomfortable for you and your family. Angela forced herself to breathe. I already told you everything. There's nothing else. Hale's expression darkened. You know, I tried to do this the easy way. I thought maybe we could have a civilized conversation. But you're lying to me, Ms. Brooks. And I don't appreciate liars. He reached into his desk drawer. Angela's heart nearly stopped. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out a folder. Inside were photographs of her apartment, of her mother's nursing home, of Angela at the grocery store, at the bus stop, walking to work. Every photo had a red circle around her face. These were taken over the past 6 months. Hale said casually. I've had people watching Damien's associates for a while now, waiting for him to slip up, waiting for him to show his hand. And then you showed up with his wallet. Quite convenient, don't you think? Angela's voice was barely a whisper. You've been watching me for 6 months? Before I even found the wallet? Hale smiled. Insurance, Ms. Brooks. I watch everyone who comes near Damien. Everyone who might become a problem. And now you have. Angela thought about the microphone hidden in her coat. About Damien and his team listening to every word. She needed to keep Hale talking. Why? Why are you doing all of this? What did Damien ever do to you? Hale's smile vanished. What did he do? He built an empire on my ideas, my strategies, my work. And then he took all the credit. For 20 years, I stood in his shadow while he got the magazine covers and the awards. While everyone called him a genius and forgot I even existed, I made him, and he treated me like I was disposable. So you killed his son. Angela's words hung in the air like a gunshot. Hale's face went completely blank. Then, slowly, he started laughing. A cold, hollow sound that made Angela's skin crawl. You're smarter than you look, Miss Brooks, but also dumber. Because now you've just confirmed what I suspected. Damien told you, which means he knows, which means I need to move faster than I planned. He pulled out his phone. Angela stood. I need to leave. Now. Hale didn't move. You're not going anywhere. Not until I figure out what to do with you. But before he could make a call, the office door burst open. 6 men in tactical gear stormed in, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Hale dropped his phone, his face going pale. Behind the tactical team, Damien walked in, holding a tablet. On the screen was the live recording of everything Hale had just said. Every confession, every threat, every damning word. Damien's voice was ice. You're done, Robert. Hale's hands were raised, his eyes darting between the armed men and Damien. You can't prove anything. That recording won't hold up in court. It was coerced. Damien stepped closer. Maybe. But the FBI agents waiting downstairs will be very interested in your offshore accounts. The payments to Victor Moreno, the falsified documents, the witness tampering, and yes, the recording where you just admitted to orchestrating my son's death. Hale's face twisted with rage. He was 7 years old, Robert. 7. And you took him from me because you were jealous, because you couldn't stand living in my shadow. Hale spat on the floor. You never deserved any of it. You never deserved him. Damien's fist connected with Hale's jaw before anyone could stop him. Hale crumpled to the ground, blood streaming from his mouth. The tactical team pulled Damien back. Angela stood frozen, watching as federal agents entered and placed Hale in handcuffs. One of the agents turned to Damien. We'll need both of you to come downtown and give statements. Damien nodded. His hand was already swelling. Angela walked over to him. Are you okay? Damien looked at his bruised knuckles, then at Hale being dragged away. No, but I will be. The next 3 weeks were a whirlwind. Federal investigations, media coverage, Hale's empire crumbling as more evidence surfaced. Victor Moreno was arrested in Costa Rica, and under pressure, he confessed to everything. The rigged accident, the payments, the cover-up. The lifeguard who had disappeared was found in Mexico and brought back to testify. Every piece of the puzzle fell into place. Noah's death was officially ruled a homicide. Hale was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, witness tampering, fraud, and a dozen other crimes. The trial would take months, but the outcome was certain. Damien had won, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like closure. Painful, necessary closure. One evening, a month after Hale's arrest, Damien called Angela back to the estate. She hadn't seen him since the courthouse. He looked different, lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He led her to his office and gestured for her to sit. I owe you more than I can ever repay, he said. You risked everything, your safety, your life, and you did it for a child you never met. Angela shook her head. I did it because it was right, and because no one should get away with hurting a child. Damien reached into his desk and pulled out an envelope. Inside this envelope is a check. It's enough to pay off your mother's nursing home bills for the next 10 years. It's enough to cover your rent, your debts, and anything else you need. Angela's hands trembled as she opened it. Her vision blurred when she saw the amount. I can't accept this. This is too much. Damien held up a hand. You can, and you will, but that's not all. He slid a second envelope across the desk. I'm starting a foundation in Noah's name. It will provide resources for families who've lost children to violence, legal support, counseling, financial assistance. I want you to run it. Angela looked up sharply. Me? I don't have any experience with that kind of work. You have something more important than experience, Damien said. You have heart. You have integrity. And you understand what it means to fight for people who can't fight for themselves. The salary is generous. The position is yours if you want it. Angela stared at the envelope, at the check that would change her life, at the job offer that would give her purpose. She thought about her father, about his voice in her head, about the choice she had made on that rainy October morning. Okay, she said quietly. I'll do it. Damien smiled. A real smile. The first one she had ever seen from him. Thank you. As Angela left the estate that evening, she looked back at the mansion, at the gates that had seemed so intimidating the first time she had stood there. Now they just looked like gates. And Damien Cole, the man the world had called the Ice King, was just a father who had loved his son, and who had found, in the kindness of a stranger, the strength to fight for justice. 3 months later, the Noah Cole Foundation officially opened its doors. Angela stood in the lobby, surrounded by families who had traveled from across the country for help. Children who had lost parents, parents who had lost children, people who needed someone to believe in them, to fight for them, to remind them that they weren't alone. Damien attended the opening ceremony. He gave a speech about Noah, about the boy who loved swings and had a fearless laugh, about how one small act of kindness, one return wallet, had changed the course of his life and given him a reason to keep going. Angela watched from the side, tears streaming down her face. She thought about how close she had come to walking past that wallet, how easy it would have been to keep the money, how different everything would be if she had made a different choice. But she hadn't. And because of that, justice had been served. A foundation had been born, and 2 broken people had found healing in the most unexpected way. Sometimes, the narrator said, the smallest decisions create the biggest ripples. A wallet left on a wet street. A choice to do the right thing even when no one was watching. A stranger who became an ally. And a father who found the strength to fight for his son's memory. Angela Brooks didn't set out to change the world. She just wanted to return something that didn't belong to her. But in doing so, she reminded us all that kindness isn't just about grand gestures or heroic acts. Sometimes it's about the quiet choices we make when we think no one is paying attention. It's about treating people with dignity even when they're at their lowest. It's about believing that somewhere, somehow, doing the right thing still matters. And maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of world worth fighting for. A world where a simple act of honesty can unravel corruption, where justice can come from unexpected places, and where the right choice, no matter how small, can change everything. What would you have done? If you found that wallet on the street, would you have returned it? Or would survival have won out? Have you ever made a choice that seemed small at the time, but changed your life forever? We want to know. Drop your story in the comments. Tell us about a time kindness came back to you in unexpected ways. And if this story moved you, if it made you think about the choices you make when no one is watching, then share it. Let someone else be reminded that their actions matter, that their integrity has power. That one person really can make a difference. Before you go, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. We tell stories that stay with you. Stories about real people facing real choices. Stories that challenge you to be better, to do better, to believe that goodness still exists in this world. Hit that bell so you never miss a story. And if you made it this far, if you watched from beginning to end, comment and let us know where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. Thank you for being here, for caring about these stories, for believing that kindness matters. Until next time, remember that the world is watching, even when you think it isn't. And the choices you make today, no matter how small, might just change someone's life tomorrow.